Hello everybody, PremedMama here. If this is your first time joining me, thanks for being here. I'm really glad you're here with me. I'm a busy mom, wife, and pre-med student who also works part-time. I'm reading through the Kaplan review books for the MCAT, and I hope you'll join me in studying. Right now, I'm in Chapter 1 of the Biology review book by Kaplan, in Section 1-3, which is called The Classification and Structure of Prokaryotic Cells. If you like what you hear today, remember to subscribe and share with others. All right, let's get started. Prokaryotes are the simplest of all organisms and include all bacteria. Prokaryotes do not contain any membrane-bound organelles, and this is important, you guys. Their genetic material is organized into a singular cellular molecule of DNA concentrated in an area of the cell called the nucleoid region. Despite the simplicity of prokaryotes, they are incredibly diverse, and knowledge of this diversity is essential for us as we study medicine, because many prokaryotes can cause infection. In fact, choosing the appropriate antibiotic to fight an infection requires knowledge about the basic structure of the bacteria causing that infection. Moving right in to prokaryotic domains. There are 3 overarching domains into which all life is classified. The first one is Archaea, followed by bacteria, and finally eukarya. 2 of these, Archaea and bacteria, contain prokaryotes. Initially, Archaea and bacteria were classified together into the kingdom of Monera. However, modern genetics and biochemical techniques have indicated that the differences in the evolutionary pathways between Archaea and bacteria are at least as significant as between either of these domains and eukarya. Let's talk now about Archaea. Archaea are single-celled organisms that are visually similar to bacteria, but they contain genes and several metabolic pathways that are more similar to eukaryotes. So in general, Archaea are visually similar to bacteria, but metabolically similar to eukaryotes. Let's learn more about this. Historically, Archaea were considered to be extremophiles. They were most commonly isolated from harsh environments with extremely high temperatures, high salinity, or no light. But more recent research has demonstrated a greater variety of habitats for these organisms, including the human body. Archaea are notable for their ability to use alternative sources of energy. While some are photosynthetic, many are chemosynthetic, which means they use chemicals. They are able to generate energy from inorganic compounds, including sulfur and nitrogen-based compounds such as ammonia. Due to the similarities of this domain, that is Archaea, to eukaryotes, it is hypothesized that eukaryotes and the domain Archaea share a common origin. Both eukaryotes and Archaea start translation with methionine. They also contain similar RNA polymerases and associate their DNA with histones. However, Archaea contain a single cellular chromosome, divide by binary fission or budding, which is asexual reproduction, and overall share a similar structure to bacteria. Interestingly, Archaea are resistant to many antibiotics. All right, moving now into the domain of bacteria. All bacteria contain a cell membrane and cytoplasm, and some have flagella or fimbriae, which are similar to cilia, as shown in the figure in your book, figure 1-6. If you can pull up an image in your book or online, I highly recommend doing that. Now, because bacteria and eukaryotes often share similar structures, it can be difficult to develop medicines that target only the bacteria and don't harm the eukaryote. However, in some cases, even seemingly similar structures have enough biochemical differences that allow for the targeting of one organism over the other. For example, bacterial flagella and eukaryotic flagella are distinct enough that scientists are able to develop antibacterial vaccines that specifically target the bacteria's flagellum. Also, many antibiotics target the bacterial ribosome, which is significantly smaller than the eukaryotic ribosome. Listen to this big number, you guys. There are approximately 5 times 10 to the 30th bacteria on Earth, outnumbering all of the plants and animals combined. As mentioned in the introduction of this chapter, chapter 1, bacteria outnumber human cells in the body 10 to 1. The relationship between the human body and bacteria is complex. Some bacteria are mutualistic symbiotes, meaning that both humans and the bacteria benefit from the relationship. Examples include the bacteria we find in the human gut that produce vitamin K and biotin, also called vitamin B7, and which also prevent the growth of harmful bacteria. Other bacteria are pathogens or parasites, meaning they provide no advantage or benefit to the host, and they cause disease. Pathogenic bacteria may live intracellular, which means inside the cell, or extracellular, which means outside the cell. For example, Chlamydia trachomatis, a commonly sexually transmitted infection, lives inside cells of the reproductive tract. Clostridium tetani, the cause of tetanus, lives outside the cells and produces toxins that enter the bloodstream. A real-world example that the book wants you to know about is that bacteria perform essential functions for human beings, including the production of vitamin K in our intestines. Vitamin K is required for production of the plasma proteins necessary for blood clotting. Newborn infants are not yet colonized by bacteria and cannot produce clotting factors, which puts them at risk for hemorrhage. When babies are born, they are given an injection of vitamin K to aid in the production of clotting factors until they have been colonized with bacteria.